Well, let's get you more perspective now on those developments out of Venezuela. I'm joined here in studio by Mariano de Alba, analyst and expert in international law. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Rachel. How are you? Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So, to what degree is this domestic and international pressure, especially surrounding the humanitarian aid, how is that either helping or hurting the current situation?
Well, I think that obviously the situation has been deteriorating for a while. We have international pressure especially on a huge set of democratic countries. They are trying to send a message to the Venezuelan military that they should stop supporting Nicolas Maduro. And to do that, they are basically putting aid in the borders of Venezuela. Obviously, the position right now of the international community is to signal to the military that the international community wants to help, because obviously there are a lot of Venezuelans suffering inside the country that need that help. But obviously they are conservative in the sense that they have asked for the Venezuelan opposition and for President Guaido and the National Assembly to be the ones who coordinate the entering of that aid into Venezuela. Why? Because obviously the Maduro regime is trying to avoid the entrance of the aid, right. and that could lead to a potential skirmish or a potentially difficult situation if the military continues to block the entering of that help.
Now let's take a step back, because if you look at Venezuela's model before this happened and even before the oil prices started to fall, how much of a surprise was this then, this current fallout, given the lead up to it?
I think it has been coming. It has been evolving and growing as years have gone by. I think that in principle you could argue that a part of it could be the responsibility could be of the falling of oil prices. But also I think that it has been clear for Venezuelans and for a large part of the international community that the main responsibility of this situation falls in the Maduro regime, in the Maduro government. Why? Because of mismanagement of the oil industry and the public administration, because of a lot of corruption, and simply because they haven't been able to have the sufficient competence right. to deal with the Venezuelan economy.
Now, obviously, oil sales, a huge part of Venezuela's economy. In fact, as of 2017, it had made up 98% of Venezuela's export earnings. And interestingly, it was the U.S. buying nearly half of those exports of exported crude that year. So then what are your thoughts on the latest U.S. sanctions, especially on the oil giant PDVSA?
I think that the U.S. has taken a huge risk. It is clear that they are trying to exert maximum pressure for the Maduro regime to go. But as you say, I mean, I think it is also a signal that it is clear that the Maduro government has not been, blocked by the U.S. Until a couple of days ago, and still until the end of February, the U.S. was the larger buyer of Venezuelan oil, and it also signals that the Maduro regime always had a very confrontative argument against the U.S., but at the same time, it was its main economic partner. And now they are in a situation in which obviously they are very compromised because right. of the decision that the U.S. has taken. But in the same sense, they didn't take any steps to foresee that this was a possibility and to take precautionary steps to try to protect the Venezuelan economy.
Now, we mentioned the U.S., but obviously, that Venezuela was Cuba's largest trading partner in 2017. Talk about some of the regional exposure and what's really at stake for the regional economy.
For the regional economy, what is at stake, it's the huge amount of the millions of Venezuelans that are leaving the country because of the crisis. Venezuela's economic crisis, you could say, that started with a lot of force in 2014, and according to the UN, we have between 3 million and 5 million of Venezuelans in different countries. Obviously, the countries that are suffering the most are the neighboring countries, especially Colombia, but also Peru, and that obviously takes a toll because the Latin American countries were not prepared for this. They don't have the sufficient economic baggage to deal with this situation. And in the end, the mismanagement of the oil and the fall in production has also affected a lot of islands in the Caribbean, which were dependent on receiving Venezuelan oil, and in that you could count obviously Cuba, right, who has for many years received Venezuelan oil probably mostly for free or at hugely discounted prices, and they have for some years now they have had to recourse to other countries, like for example Russia, to cover that demand.
Well, certainly a lot of countries watching what happens here. Thank you so much for your insights. Mariano de Alba, their analyst and Venezuelan lawyer and expert in international law.